With all of the chaos going on in our lives today around finances and online accounts and multiple accounts and passwords all over the place, today we're going to talk about the 4 reasons why you need to simplify your financial life. And the 4th reason is going to be the biggest reason. So stick around. We're going to talk about it next on Triple F.
Triple F, Triple F. We are back. Here we are.
One more week.
Man, I love it here. And this is exciting because we've got a way that we are going to simplify your financial world. Everything that is going on in your life, we want to talk about simplifying it. And yeah, I mean, if it can be simple, that's much, much better. Okay, David, do your thing. Tell them how to do it.
All right, man. So first of all, let me ask you, is your financial life simplified? Is it simple? Is it easy?
Some things are, some things are not. Taxes are not easy for me.
Taxes
are tough. If my wife comes to me, and she never does this, and she asks, "Hey, what does our finances look like? Can you show me something?" I'd be like, "You really want to take me? You want me to take you through that?"
That's the problem. That's the problem.
So I would say, in general, it's simple in that money comes in, money goes out. A lot of stuff is automated. But when it comes to like being able to actually present it, I don't know that that's very simple.
Well, I was actually going to give you a lot of credit because I've known Tiran now for a while, and I would have bet that he was in the top 2% of people that were organized in the financial life.
Well, I'm sorry. I probably
The good news is you're
disappointed.
The good news is that you're average and you're normal.
I am normal. I think I'm normal.
So what in the world has happened in our financial lives? It is incredible.
Gotten complicated.
I remember back when I was young, just gotten married, my wife and I had a checkbook. We wrote checks. We got the statement at the end of the month. We reconciled the checks back to the once a month statement that you got from the bank.
Yeah.
And then at the end, we plugged it to come out to whatever the bank statement said we had, right?
I never did this, but never in my life have I ever done like a ledger with like a checkbook and like writing. Maybe like once or twice.
I was all over it, man. I was an accountant, man. I loved getting that statement at the end of the month. It's the only time you ever got to see what transactions actually happened in your checking account.
Did you check it against yours?
You would take your check register, look at it against a bank statement. You'd see which checks cleared, which ones were still outstanding, and you have to reconcile back to the right balance.
Man, okay, that's another level.
So, and plus, in addition to that, we had one checking account, we had one savings account that we'd put a few dollars in every now and then, and we may have had a credit card. Well, we probably had a couple of credit cards, but before we got married, I know that my mom and dad had like no credit cards. Mm-hmm. So what's happened over the last few years? Okay, let me tell you, we've had expansion of accounts. It's like a disease,
like our
account expansions throughout our life,
like our waistline.
We have multiple checking accounts. We have multiple savings accounts. We have way too many credit cards and lines of credit in our lives.
It's so easy to set them up. That's the thing. You can just set up 10 of them like it's no problem.
Back in the 70s, you're lucky to have one.
Yeah, you'd have to like go in, set up an appointment with the banker, bring in documentation. It's just like nobody wanted to do that.
Now we have things called brokerage accounts. Mm-hmm. We have 401ks and other retirement accounts that just came in over the last 30 years or so. Mm-hmm. We have monthly bills now. We don't write checks. Who's written? I write maybe one check a year, if that. Nobody writes checks, so everything's online now.
I don't even know if I can find a check.
Yeah, I know where my checks are, but I think I have one person that may mow my grass.
Actually, hold on. I actually think
you don't have a check.
I think I might actually.
You're not that guy in the line that has one check and you're going to write that check out.
Oh, look at that. I actually do. It's been in my bag here. It's actually, this is what you're talking about, right?
Those are checks.
Yeah. Those are no ledger, but these are just like, look how old it is. It's like all like bent up.
You have no register though.
This,
man,
you know what? Look, and it's even got my old address in Pearland, Texas. Cause when we first started the business in 2018, you get checks like this.
Yeah.
And yeah. So
you may want to hang on to those. Those may be worth money someday, actually.
Maybe.
So what's happened? We've gotten used to paper documents. We used to get used to paper documents. Now everything is online. You can't find paper documents anymore unless you go online and print them off. They're everywhere. We open accounts, we change jobs, we add services. It's just really financial chaos, to be quite honest with you. Mm-hmm. And when you have a spouse, it's 2 times the accounts. Everybody's got separate accounts. Everybody's got their own passwords. I mean, it's really difficult. And so when people talk about, preparing your estate and for your passing and what have you,
Mhm.
most people think, do I have a will? Yeah.
Mhm.
A lot of people can check that. Not everybody. If you can't, you need to have a will.
Yeah, it's super easy now.
All of your financial accounts should have beneficiaries on them.
Yep.
All of your banks should have beneficiaries.
Yep.
If you want a living will for medical directive, you should have maybe a living will. If you have special situations with kids, disabilities, whatever, you may have wanted a trust.
Mhm.
And so when people get those documents in place, they think we're set.
Mhm.
If something happens to me, I feel good. I have peace of mind. Everyone's taken care of.
Mhm.
And that's really what people think. And then what happens? The person passes, they have a funeral,
Yep.
and then the next day, when the dust is settled, so to speak, and the spouse that's left behind is back home,
Mhm.
she doesn't know how to pay the bills,
Didn't know how to get into the
doesn't
accounts.
know how to get into the electric bill company, the company to pay the electric bill, doesn't know
Yep.
what homeowner's insurance, what auto insurance that you got,
Nope.
what did he have life insurance? Did
Don't
she have life
even yeah,
insurance?
don't even know who is the auto
Don't even
insurance.
know. How about credit cards? Are they due? What's the due date on those?
Mm.
They were his credit cards. They were in his account. What's his
Yeah.
password? Who knows?
Yeah.
And so it really is really just financial chaos, to be quite honest with you.
Mhm. I know
And
I need to be better at
yeah,
this.
oh, I think everybody does. It's really comes. This really today's podcast comes kind of from an article that I was actually reading last week about this, about
Mhm.
how people think that they're in great shape, and I was the same way with a will,
Oh, I
with
thought you were talking about fitness.
no, with a
Like,
with a
no, you're in pretty good
beneficiary.
shape.
And so there's really yeah, when I was thinking through this, there's really like 4 reasons why you need to kinda get organizing your financial life.
Mhm.
The first one is just peace of mind. I mean, you know, every year I go through a process where I wanna declutter. I just wanna go through
Mhm.
my closet and take stuff out and give it away or, donate it. Garage, there's so much stuff you wanna just, get rid of, throw away. But so decluttering is just good for peace of mind, and so in your financial life is really no different. Just declutter. There's no
Mhm.
reason to keep tax, uh, preparation documents from 10 years ago, keep
Yeah.
about 5, 6 years. That's all you need. There's no reason to have old utility bills. There's no reason to have
Mm.
just drawers full of a bunch of papers that,
That's what I that's what I have.
expired auto insurance policies and
Yeah,
all that kinda
that's
stuff.
what I have for our business. I've got like this, the drawers with like the
Yeah,
manila folders
yeah,
and stuff. I just have it is chock full, and I have electric bills and statements from like
yeah.
2019 in there.
When we were cleaning my mom and dad's house out, when they passed back in, like, 2017, I mean, I found bills and old utility
Mhm.
bills from, like, 2000, 1995, stuff like that, old store
Mhm.
receipts, and so it's really just about decluttering, being on top of it, and in your financial life, if you just do that, it just gives you a peace of mind. I mean, if
Yep.
you just have all of your stuff either in a nice folder on your computer or a file, you have just a couple of files with everything in there. I mean, it just makes you feel better
Mhm.
than having stuff all over the place.
Mhm.
It creates efficiency in managing your finances. We talked a little bit about in our credit score podcast a week or so ago. We talked about managing finances and why we thought it was a good idea to have both spouses on joint accounts versus separate accounts.
Mhm.
This is the same kind of efficiency. If you have all of your financial resources and all of your information in a
Yeah.
good organized spot,
One
you can
location.
really optimize what you're paying for, what credit card you're paying off,
Mhm.
what bills need to be paid.
Yep.
Both spouses need to have access to all the accounts so that if something does unfortunately happen to one of you, the other person can just step right in and continue to operate. And that gives
Mhm.
them a lot of, going back to number one reason, is peace of mind. So
Yep.
my wife and I know we have all of each other's accounts. We know everybody's passwords, and it just gives us a good peace of mind, knowing that if something happened to me, she could, show up
Mhm.
tomorrow and nothing would change.
Yeah.
And so you get beyond the will and the beneficiaries, you start talking more about just
Like the practical, like what would you do next day?
day-to-day operations, yeah.
Yeah.
The third reason that you really wanna get simplified in your financial life is taxes.
Yeah.
I do a little bit of tax preparation, myself for people, and I know as a tax preparer, if you just put yourself in the position of the tax preparer, you have people bringing to you documents
Mhm.
that you're supposed to sort through and know exactly what's going on in their financial life, okay? So, somebody brings me their tax stuff that they think that I need for their tax preparation, and I'll get statements, I'll get brokerage statements, I'll get donations, I'll get mortgage statements, and I'm supposed to know if that's everything or not.
Mhm.
And as a tax preparer, one thing that I always worry about is, do I have everything? Do
Yeah.
I have all of the financial documents that show all the interest income, the dividends, the stock transactions?
Mhm.
Do I have all of the potential write-offs? Do I have all the documentation for donations? Do I have mortgage interest? Do I have property tax information? And
Mhm.
so without knowing somebody's business, it just gives me a peace of mind as a tax preparer that I just want to get everything. And,
Mhm.
and when somebody brings a nice organized folder in and they say, here are my tax documents, and we start looking at them, man, it's like, okay, I have confidence that this is
Yeah.
everything.
Especially you're gonna put your name on it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and when I sit down with a client and we're pulling stuff, some of the stuff's on the computer, some of it, I think, I have to go back to my bank statement and see if I paid this, and I mean, if
Mhm.
it's just all over the place, it's immediately I'm thinking, okay, I'm going to miss something,
Mhm.
and so I make sure that they understand if I miss something because I didn't get it, it's not it'll be on them when the IRS comes calling. I'll
Mhm.
help them, but don't blame me on it. So.
Mhm.
Anyway, so as a tax preparer, if you just think like a tax preparer when you're putting your tax documents together, what would you want to see as a tax preparer? You want to
Mhm.
see things in an organized way. You want to make sure everything's there.
Sounds like a nightmare.
Yeah, it is, but it'll save you a lot of money
Mm.
because tax preparers not there isn't much of everybody else. They're going to pay you by the hour, and so the more time it takes them to figure this stuff out, the more your
Mhm.
tax bill is going to be.
That's why I'm glad that she's studying tax and is
Yeah.
gonna be in tax law.
Is she going to take care of all that for you in the future?
I don't know.
I do it for my son, so
I it's just, you do things that you love and then you outsource things you don't.
yeah.
And this is just one of those things that I just outsource.
You could never be a tax accountant.
I don't that is not me. That is not me.
I could not be a full-time tax accountant.
I
Fortunately, I do it for kind of on the side for some family members, and that's about
Yeah.
all I do it for.
That's you're like the yin and yang, right? I mean, you're that other half of me, I guess,
Yeah.
because I'm glad you're here.
That's why we make such a good team on the
Yeah.
podcast.
Yeah. Because as soon as you say tax, I start yawning and I just wanna nod off.
I know, I hear you. So peace of mind, efficiency in your finances, organization of tax time. The biggest one and the number 4, fourth reason why you need to simplify it, and this is one, man, we hear all the time.
Yep.
I
Yep.
mean, I can't tell you how many widows and widowers I've talked to, and
Mhm.
they think they had they really believe that they had their whole life,
Yep.
financial life in shape because they had a will, they had a power of attorney, they had, a trust in some situation, they had life insurance.
Mhm.
They really thought that they had everything sorted, but then when they got home from the funeral the next day, they had no idea when their auto insurance expired. They had no idea how to pay the credit card bill that their spouse had been paying for years. They had
Mhm.
no passwords. They didn't have any of the passwords to any of the primary accounts to run the household.
Mhm.
And so, as prepared as they thought they were, it was devastating
Yeah.
to sit there and watch someone try to go through this at a time of mourning and try to
Yeah, it's so
figure all this
hard.
stuff out.
So hard.
It is just, I mean, it's just heartbreaking, really.
Yeah,
I mean,
we had to do this for my grandmother.
the things you have to look at is, can both parties pay all the bills?
Mhm.
Do they have the passwords to all the accounts?
That seems like such an easy one,
Yeah,
like,
you don't wanna leave it sitting on your desk at home, but
yeah.
you wanna have it in maybe a shared file someplace where everybody has access to all that. Do both parties have access to all the financial accounts? Does your if you're working and you pass while you're working, does your spouse have access to your employer? Do they know if you had a 401k or not? Do they know
Mhm.
if you had some kind of retirement account? Do they know if your employer had life insurance on
Mhm.
you? Because a
Yep.
lot of big companies, they carry life insurance on their employees.
Yep.
Would they know who to contact in that situation?
Mhm. It sounds like, David, whoever's watching this had one thing that they could take away where they could be like, "Hey, I think I can get 1% better just
Yep,
by doing this one thing." It sounds like it would be, "Hey, just make sure that whoever is your significant other or whoever you think would be the one taking care of your affairs if you should pass away,
right.
that they would just simply be able to have access." And that could be as simple as creating a little
Yep,
document that has the account information on it as far as username and passwords, and then providing it to them, asking them obviously to keep it in a a
right.
safe place, But that way, if something did happen, they would at least know where to go because all of your major accounts would be
Yeah,
listed.
yeah. And so all of these things they need to know. You're kind of leading into the question, where do you start? Where do you
Mhm.
start to get organized?
Yeah.
And so it's not something that's probably just intuitive that, I'm going to know exactly what to do. So let's talk about it, if I were in this situation, how would I start? Where would you
Mhm.
start? So I think you have to start out that we have so many accounts and we have so much stuff online. I think you have
Mhm.
to first of all divide um all of your accounts into different buckets.
Mhm.
And so the first bucket, and probably one of the big important buckets at that time, are your working accounts. And when I say working accounts, and we're going to have this on a slide, but when I say working accounts, I'm talking your bank checking account and your savings account, which is probably where your emergency fund is. If emergency
Mhm.
fund is, if you've been, carrying an emergency fund. So just that bank checking and savings, that gets a lot of stuff. They can pay for things that are kind of due now
Yeah.
to kind of get through the process. The second one are monthly bills. This is the second
Mhm.
bucket. So put as many of those bills as possible on auto pay. That way,
Mhm.
if something happens, the surviving spouse has, they know the electric bill is going to be paid. They know the water's not going to be shut off. They
Mhm.
know, your insurances will all be paid. But just have all those monthly bills, as many as possible on auto pay. That's the beauty of having things online
Yeah.
now versus it used to be checks.
Yeah.
When it used to be checks, you could check the register and see all the bills that have been
Yeah.
paid,
When it's
but
gonna come.
but but now it's, with everything online, if you just put them on auto pay, we do that now, my wife and I. When we go on vacation for 2 weeks, I don't even worry about bills being paid. I couldn't even tell you the day the electric bill's paid,
Mhm.
because it's all auto paid,
Yeah.
and so as long as my lights stay on, I guess, everything's good, but if you put things, it's kinda 21st century stuff, I call it, but it's kinda just put everything on auto pay. It's simple, it's secure,
Mhm.
it's easy. You can change payment methods if you need to, but have access to those online accounts.
Mhm.
The third bucket is are credit cards.
Mhm.
So pay them off with intention from the smallest to the largest, like we've always talked about in the past. But for credit cards, you really want to have both spouses, even though only one of you use a credit card. I have a separate credit card for my spouse, but we both have cross access to it.
Mhm.
And so with credit cards, you just really wanna know which one the other person has or how many they have, and you wanna kinda know what those balances are and, and just have access to it so you're
Mhm.
not missing payments. If you start missing payments, your credit score is just gonna go down, and we talked about that, like I said, a couple
Yeah.
weeks ago in our credit podcast. Brokerage account. This is another bucket. So
Mhm.
for those that go beyond the checking and the savings, if you have a brokerage account through Fidelity or
Mhm.
Vanguard or some of those bigger brokerage companies, it's just know where that's at. They get, they're really good. You want to set up a brokerage account actually if you don't have one, but just know where they're at. It's a great thing to have. I kind of keep my emergency fund in these brokerage accounts because they really
Mhm.
get better interest than all the banks do.
Mhm.
Uh,
And for all the spouses that are watching that may not know what that is, that's not much different from just a normal bank account.
right, right.
It's just a special
Savings
account
account.
that's usually from one of the big 3 or 4 companies
Yep.
or brokerage firms that are out there. You basically log in the same way you would a Chase or a Bank of
And you'd
America.
only leave more money in those where you may only have 5 or 10,000 in a savings account. In
Mhm.
a brokerage account, you may have 50 or $100,000 over time, if you
If your
built
name
that
is
up.
David.
Yeah, if your name's David. Um, and then retirement accounts, you
Mhm.
need to get hold of where are all of the retirement accounts. A lot of things that I run across when I talk with people about their finances. Um, it used to be you were with one company for 30 years,
Mhm.
35 years, you retired, you had one pension account, maybe a
Mhm.
401k. Now, people change jobs every few
Mhm.
years. So
Mhm.
you may be 35 or 40 years old, you've had 3 or 4 jobs, you've had
Mhm.
3 or 4
Yeah,
401ks.
and didn't get rolled over.
When you left that company, it's still sitting out there with
Yep.
employer A,
Yep.
and now you're an employer, E or F.
Mhm.
And so the person I'm talking to normally doesn't even know how to go get those. How's
Mhm.
your spouse gonna know how to go get those?
Yeah,
And
they won't even
so
know they're there.
yeah, so you have to really know what 401ks you've left behind, get those rolled over into IRAs and get
Mhm.
and plus, not only that, but it simplifies again all of your statements that you get.
Yep.
If you get everything rolled over into one, like a Fidelity, a Vanguard, a Schwab account, one of those providers, you get one statement for taxes. You get one monthly statement or quarterly statement. From all of it. It just makes things a lot simpler. I don't like to have two or three
Mhm.
different investment brokerage houses. So,
Yep.
but yeah, the main thing is get all those retirement accounts roll over into IRAs, something that you have access to, because that employer that you had 10 or 15 years ago that your 401k is with, they may have been bought out, sold,
Mhm.
merged, whatever. And the person that you used to call about these, they no longer handle that stuff. So do
Mhm.
not leave 401ks, 403bs behind.
Mhm.
There's no reason. And one of the big things also are insurance documents. This is like the kind of the final big bucket is
Mhm.
insurance documents. Have handy a copy of your home, your auto, and your life policies.
Mhm.
Um, y- your spouse should know if you have life insurance, but a lot of times you have to know where the statement's at or where the documents are, so you know
Mhm.
who to call and what
Yep.
company is it with. And they, those change also. And then your home and auto insurance, they need to know, when those things expire, who are they with,
Mhm.
what do the payments look like? What do I have to do to get those? And so those are the main buckets that I kind of look at most people's financial life into. It's kind of your working accounts, your monthly bills, your credit cards, any brokerage
Mhm.
account that you may have or relationship you may have with a brokerage company, your retirement accounts, and your insurance documents. Another another bucket that's growing every day, and I'm guilty of this one, are streaming services. I mean,
Mhm.
this kind of a bonus bucket, but
Mhm.
if you're like me, I have like 5 or 6 different streaming services that I pay, and so
Mhm.
if I passed tomorrow, I'm not sure my wife would know all the streaming services we have
Mhm.
and what all those little hits are to our checking account every month.
Yeah. One thing that came to mind when it comes to this, you don't necessarily have to do this just because someone might pass away.
Right.
You may think about doing this, even like some of these documents that you might have that are actually paper documents, is to have these secured in some sort of fireproof box. We have one at our house that's
Yeah.
fireproof, and it's about this big, and it's like a safe. It's pretty
Boxer safe,
thick.
yeah,
Yep.
yep.
And we basically have a lot of our really important documents, some important pictures and stuff like that, our marriage certificate, stuff like this in that box. Because if there's like a fire and you basically lose
Yeah,
everything, that box will likely survive, and you'll have those types of documents available to you. Because if you lost your computer, or you didn't have your account numbers, these types of things, this would be a good sort of a backup to be able to
right.
access to those things, so that when you do get back online, you're able to bring
And
up
you can
those
kinda grab
accounts.
and take them with you, so
Yeah, you take them, but if you can't get to them, they're fireproof
yeah,
and they'll be able to survive.
yeah.
We At least you hope.
And so dividing all your accounts into buckets really helps you get organized, and as
Mhm.
Tyra was saying, if you get it all together, I mean, and what you're gonna I think what I find with most people when they actually do this, they actually find money. They actually find more money that they have that
Mhm.
they didn't even know they had. They
Mhm.
have I can't tell you how many times I've sat down with somebody that was getting ready for retirement, and we're sitting there talking about what they have for retirement. They show me their 401k or whatever, and we start talking about the income it can throw off. And then come to find out, they said, "Well, I got this letter also, 6 months ago or whatever, and it's from a previous employer talking about some 401k that's been left
Mhm.
behind, stranded behind."
Yep.
And so I say, "Well, we need to get hold of these folks and see,
Mhm.
what's left back there." And the company that they left isn't even a company anymore. They were merged with
Mhm.
somebody else, but this 401k was kind of wrapped into all that stuff. It was never claimed, and so they have to really go on a big search for that. But
Yep.
just the fact that we were getting organized, getting all their stuff together, all their
Mhm.
accounts together, we find these straggler retirement accounts or these straggler 401ks out there.
Mhm.
But there's a lot, and another tip I'll give you is as you go through your checking account online, you're gonna find that you're paying for things that you may not have even known you're
Yeah.
paying for.
Gym memberships.
Gym
You
memberships.
should keep paying for that. Support the industry.
Support the industry. Don't cut Tyron off of his gym membership. So,
No.
but
Just accept it.
what you do find out, I mean, you'll find things where somebody charges you twice. I've had that before where a gas station that's 4 hours away when I was on the road, they charged me twice for the same purchase. I
Mhm.
was able to get that money back. You're gonna find,
If Anytime Fitness charges you twice, just
just
accept it.
pay it. And so but you'll have old subscriptions, you'll have all kinds of stuff. So, it's kind of I mean it's not fun, but it's kind of something
Yeah,
to kind of
like
keep your eye
a
out for.
treasure
It's kind of
hunt.
a treasure hunt, yeah.
Yeah.
And so after you divided your accounts into buckets, you've taken care of all that, you got everything together, have a monthly money review. We talked
Mm.
a couple podcasts ago
Your dates.
about date night. And so you want to have maybe a monthly review, money review date night with your spouse, right?
Yeah.
And just
Date fight night.
yeah, you can look at their transactions, you can criticize all the things that she
Ooh,
spent money
that is
on.
a recipe for
You can
disaster.
tell her the benefits of everything you spent money on, and just does everything look okay? Do we see any charges that are out there that we should have had? But just
Tread lightly and with immense amounts of caution.
yeah. But each meeting, I would take a different bucket, and I'd go over that bucket, just make sure everybody's on the same service. Do we all have each other's
Mhm,
passwords? Do we know where
mhm,
that's at? Can we find all this stuff? And
mhm.
so
And watch out for the bucket that's
yeah.
flying at your
And
head.
and do all this before you drink all that wine and eat all that cheese, because
Yeah.
once you're drinking that wine and cheese, I don't, that all bets are off. So
We're LDS. We don't do any of that.
yeah,
So
so you have too much wine and nobody's remember any of the passwords.
no, that I don't know how this works.
And so what I tell people is make it a goal, make it a labor of love. Some people call it
Mhm.
a love folder. Okay, putting the love folder together with all the crucial documents, like Tyra was talking about, that were in his fireproof safe.
A love
Make
folder.
it a labor of love for those that are left behind, because you don't want when you're gone, you don't want the people that you left, the people that you love, to have to go on these searches and these treasure hunts for
Yeah.
stuff. And so I guess the question, when we started, I said, are you organized? And you were telling me you weren't that organized. Do you still feel unorganized or organized? I mean, how do you feel
Well,
after hearing all of this stuff today?
I mean,
Do you
it's
have
a
work to do?
yeah, I think so. I think it's a good reminder. Sarah and I go through sort of ebbs and flows when it comes to this. We'll get good intentions, like we'll make sure that our will is updated. We'll make sure that we've got a pretty good idea of where everything is. I'll go over some basic account information, make sure that she has the passwords, this kind of a thing. But even when you create such documents, if you don't put them into a specific location and you just sort of save them on your computer, or she
Yeah.
takes a note somewhere, that stuff over time just grows feet, and then you end up losing it. So really having a folder, keeping it in a place where you can get to, making sure it's portable if it is printed, just make sure you always have the ability to handle an emergency, whether that's a fire or you got to evacuate, or someone passes away, that you know where that is.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good reminder, because if you have it on your computer, then the big question is, does your spouse know the
Yeah.
password to your computer?
Hmm.
If they don't, then it's useless. And so
Yep.
the really important stuff, the list of passwords, the list of accounts, the
Hmm.
list of all your insurance policies, have those in paper, have those printed out, have those in this folder that's in this safe,
Hmm.
and put away. Everybody knows the key or the access code. But paper a lot of times is much better than electronic for stuff like this, for these
Yep.
love folders, or
Hmm.
these this documentation that we're talking about.
Hmm.
Because if it's in your computer, as we all know, we replace computers every 3 or 4 years,
Yeah.
and so you have to keep up with things, and your computer could go out.
Hmm.
They can't find the cable cord to charge it. They don't know your
Yeah.
password. I mean, some things can happen electronically. I get uncomfortable when I'm getting ready to get on an airplane and all I have is the
Yeah.
electronic ticket. Suppose I don't get Wi-Fi access at the airport, so I always print
I
my ticket
know.
out. I always print my
You're
ticket
old
out
school.
and put it in my
I haven't
pocket,
done
just in
that in
case my
forever.
phone's not working.
Man, I haven't done that in forever.
I'm old school, man. I remember back in the day, as they say, right? Back in the
Hmm.
day.
Yeah,
And
you're
so
old.
I'm getting in the 21st century though here.
But you notice my gray hair is creeping up and it's
Yeah.
getting closer to your level.
You can have all this wise wisdom that I have one day when you get as old as I am.
Yeah, I hope one day I can sit in your chair.
All right, my friend. Well, that's it for today. I hope this has been helpful. I mean, it sounds
It's made
simple.
me feel bad.
Yeah, it sounds simple, but it's really not that simple. I mean, it's
Mm.
going to be some work for some of you folks out there to get this stuff together.
I got some work to do.
Yeah, and as good as I think I am in, after presenting this today, I'm thinking maybe I still got a little bit of work to do myself. Although I think we're on pretty good terms, but we're also older. See, maybe when you're my age, you'll be as
We have
organized
more
as I am.
time.
So,
I mean,
yeah, that's true.
I-
I'm not working, so I
guess
have
what
no excuse.
guess what he's been working on all day? This podcast.
That's it, man. I've been practicing all day. So if you
so
got
nice.
something out of this, just some tidbits out of it, if you liked it, just please subscribe and pass this along to others, and it's a lot of information. It's a lot of good
Mhm.
information, but share it with others, like it, subscribe to the channel, and you're going to be wiser for it.
Yeah,
So
please do, because I've been wearing the same shirt and this outfit for like the
if
past
it wasn't for Anytime
month.
Fitness, you wouldn't have any
I'm telling I
wardrobe, would
don't
you?
because we're spending all the money on this podcast. Okay, I've got nothing
I'm
else
going to
'cause
take you shopping.
you guys need to subscribe.
I'm going to take him shopping. That way he can look as sharp as I do.
I need to
So-
retire.
All right, man. Until next time, we will see you later.
Bye,
Triple F
guys.
out.